All right, we're down here in Wollongong, Sam Goodman, Fight Week. Big card, Barry Hall, Curtis Scott, Liam Wilson, Yusuf Dib. Brendan, pretty keen for this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. So it's Monday. We've just had the press conference and various post presser interviews and stuff down here in Wollongong. It's about 5 o'clock. We're across the road from Wynn Stadium where the Dragons play. I'm actually looking forward to this card. It's deep. Like there's a lot of fights that are interesting if you're into Aussie boxing. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it.
About Goodman, he seems to be taking all this in his stride, eh? It's a pay-per-view. There's been some critics, but
Yeah, and that'll come. And I understand some of the criticism as well. But you would have talked to Sam today, and obviously everyone wants to know about Inoue and is the fight happening? When's it happening? Why are you doing it now? He's so fed up talking about Naoya Inoue.
I know.
It was my first question as well, but he was just like, mate.
He snapped back at me.
Did he?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
You could tell.
I like that from Sam. Getting a bit of mongrel into it.
Yeah.
That's fair enough too. Obviously people are going to talk about Inoue. He jumped in the ring and everything, but it's a tough fight. I think you were saying you've watched a bit of footage on the Rock Man.
I've done a little.
I've seen a few clips, but nothing extensive. What do you see?
Yeah, I've had a little look at him. I wouldn't call it a deep analysis, but I've had a look. He comes forward and he's got power, so it's a good test for Sam to see, where he's at. But the thing that I find interesting about this fight is TJ Dehenny is supposedly fighting Inoue, who Sam Goodman beat. A while ago now, how long ago?
March 23.
14, 15 months ago?
Yeah, on the Tim Tszyu Tony Harrison card.
So where's the criticism for Inoue for taking that fight, whereas people are criticising Sam for taking this fight when it was already booked in?
You can read that in my story tomorrow, because I did ask Sam about that, because Sam's been copying it for taking this fight, not fighting Inoue. I think here's what people probably don't realise, is that when he went to Japan, he went over to Tokyo to Inoue's fight. He jumped in the ring. That wasn't scripted.
Yeah.
They just went over to, they thought they were going to fight Inoue, or they probably were going to fight him at some point. So they just went over to see what the vibe's like, to see the scene. Obviously, huge stadium fight, 50-something thousand people, and they had seats, I think, in the 9th row. And this is what Sam told me today. Again, you can read this tomorrow. It was saying that seats in the 9th row, and he goes, classic bunch of Aussies abroad. They just blagged their way ringside, sat down at some seats. They were in Inoue's family seats. So Inoue's wife comes along and says, "You're in our seats." So they move along. Someone else, his dad or something, comes along, and Goodman's manager, the great Pete Matrevsky, has got Google Translate, and he's trying to tell them in Japanese, we're the mandatory for Inoue, we're not moving. So that's how he got to sit to sit ringside, sorry. And then after the fight, Inoue jumps on the turnbuckle, and they just yell out to him, "This is Sam Goodman, he's your mandatory," and Inoue says, "Come in the ring." Jimmy Lennon didn't know that was going to happen, and yet Ben Damon was there telling Jimmy Lennon what the story was, and so obviously people are going to think Goodman Inoue next, but he already had this fight lined up. So there is criticism, but that is the full story.
And the other thing where there's criticism is the pay-per-views. If you're Sam Goodman and you can command some pay-per-view money, it'd be stupid to knock it back.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to pay for everything somehow. The Schlieb's pay-per-view down here a few months back, that went well. Yeah, that did really well, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's been enough criticism of Inoue not fighting MJ Akintalia and fighting TJ Darnay instead.
Exactly. Who Goodman beat.
And there should be some criticism of that, but it also makes more sense. TJ's fought in Japan a couple of times. He's, from what I gather, decent.
He's a big star over there as well.
He's the Irish Aussie, I've been calling him.
What about Goodman headlining a card here for the second time? it's, what do we make of Wollongong? It's a.
I like one. I like it down here.
I like it down here.
Yeah, people were saying we were in a group chat with a couple of mates, and they were like, "Oh," I said, "I'm down at Wollongong for the week," and they're like, "Oh, what are you being punished for?" I like it down here.
Yeah.
I like it as a spot to visit, to come to fights. Some great fights, some great memories down here.
Yes.
Paul Gallen beating Lucas Brown, one of the wildest things I've seen. That was down here.
Speaking of Gal,
Speaking of, everyone's
Barry
talking
Hall.
about Gal this week.
Curtis Scott.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
I've
here he
actually
is
been
here.
enjoying.
Here he is,
Speaking
Ben
of
Davis.
It's the voice.
It's the voice of Australian
Benny
boxing.
Well,
As we speak.
We're filming our podcast here, Benny.
really?
We're just saying that you had to fill in Jimmy Lennon when Sam Goodman jumped into the ring,
Yes.
and no one knew what was going on.
It's really happening.
Yeah.
This is really happening.
I don't have a microphone, so I'll leave it to you.
He's going to leave us. Yeah.
He can come on next week.
Talk to my people.
You got that email I sent you too.
I did.
We'll chat about that later.
Yes.
But it's pretty simple. It's just like a history. So
This is great podcast.
yeah, we're raw. This
This is raw. Yeah.
Very raw.
Very raw.
But yeah, I'll chat to you about it later. Yeah. So what are we talking about? Curtis Scott.
Curtis
Barry Hall.
Scott, Barry Hall.
So Curtis Scott, I don't know if he's taking the piss in the open workouts, but he looks terrible in the workout. But then in the ring, he looks pretty good, for what it's worth.
Right.
Like I don't know if you saw the workout the other day, but it looked. Yeah, everyone was saying he was playing possum, but then in the ring, he looks like he's confident.
Well, no. I remember thinking something similar when he fought Joey Leilua. They had the workouts at Bondi Boxing,
Yeah.
and I was like, ooh, I'm not going to say he looked bad or he didn't look like shit, but I was like, he's obviously fairly new to boxing.
Yeah.
But then he went and just bashed him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know. I think you can only read so much into it. You know, the worst for that was, and I still don't know, when Carlos Ocampo came out for his open workouts on the Gold Coast
Yes.
last year. I was like, no, this guy
Looked horrendous.
has never boxed in his life. And I still don't know whether he has. It only lasted 70 seconds.
Yeah. Well,
The poor guy.
Curtis Scott, Barry Hall. I'm actually keen to see because Barry can actually box. Like for the level. I mean, he's no world beater, but he can
Yeah.
actually. He boxed Paul Gallen. It was a draw. Gal thinks he won. It could have gone either way, whatever you thought. But he's got some boxing ability.
Yeah. And I know he had a few things going on outside boxing, or outside sport, I think, in the lead up to that Sonny Bill fight.
Yeah.
When was that? 2 years ago now?
Two and a bit years ago. Yeah.
So it was not a good build-up, not a good preparation for him. So I'm actually interested to see what Barry Hall looks like as a boxer, because I don't think we've saw the best of him that night.
No, and I think it either goes two ways. You got Curtis that come out and try and knock his block off. You got Barry who can box, and I don't know how it goes.
Interesting one.
Yeah.
I think, say Barry Hall wins. Would you want a Gal rematch?
No,
A
I
Sonny Bill rematch?
I
Or
honestly think Gal's done. I mean, and Gal, to his credit, he hasn't said a word really. I mean, he's snapped back a little, but I mean, I think he's just done with boxing. I mean, depends what the money's like, because Gal loves the money, but
does he need it? I don't know if he needs it.
I don't think he needs it. But what I'm interested to see is if Curtis wins, like, does he take boxing serious, or is he still angling for an NRL comeback? I mean, like, he seems like he's half in, half out at the moment until he's just seen how far he can go.
I think his rugby league days are done.
I think they're done altogether.
I think
Yeah.
so. There's no reason if he wins, there's no reason he can't make it as a boxer, I don't think.
No.
There was he was talking about cruiserweight titles and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Does he stay up at heavyweight?
He's small for
He's
a heavyweight.
tiny. Yeah.
Like, he's a big man, but he's small for a heavyweight boxer.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Speaking of heavyweight boxers, how's that segue? Not great. Brandon Gratch,
go.
who I had a great chat to today.
Great guy.
Great, what a story.
Newcastle guy too.
Newcastle, but also a country boy, Tamworth, Roma. somewhere else in the country. Great story, great backstory. 2 upset wins last year, including the knockout of the year. What a good story, and a guy I'm genuinely interested to watch back in the ring on Wednesday.
Yeah, he's that knockout last time out for him was probably one of the best fights I've ever seen live ever.
Do you know what? The knockout of the year for sure. But people aren't talking about the first round.
Oh.
He was down.
Round
he
of the
was
year.
done.
Fight of the year, round of the year, knockout of the year, all in the one
Comeback
fight.
of the year. It
mate.
had everything.
But then he's had so long out of the ring as well. Like, you would have liked to see him back in there in March, April, or, and for whatever reason. So it will be interesting. And does he feel the pressure now as a bit of a, he's got a bit of a name?
Bit of a profile. Well, he's gone viral. Every time that clip gets brought back up, it goes viral.
Yeah.
Nice guy. There was a reason he didn't fight earlier.
Yeah, he did mention it.
Did he have a kid? Or did he have surgery?
Don't know. It could be all of the
interchangeable.
above. It could be all of the above.
Who knows?
But you've got a good yarn about Billy Polkinghorne.
Well, Billy Polkinghorne, for all intents and purposes, is homeless. He's been living on the floor of a mate's 1-bedroom apartment in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane for 5 months since moving here from Perth. Yes. Not that he's not living rough. He's not destitute. I don't think. But I asked him today. Is there a knockout bonus? Because he's got power, but he's a super lightweight.
Yeah.
But he's got power, but there's heavyweights. 3 heavyweight fights, and you could easily get a knockout of the night. But he could spoil the party, and he needs the money. He needs the money. He wants to upgrade, get his own place or something. But he's another one. He's only had 1 professional fight. Gratch, I think, has had 2 or 3 now. But there's a lot of rising stars on this card. Interesting to see. Yeah, and a lot of talk about Billy Polkinghorne. A lot of talk about him.
Have you heard about Billy Polkinghorne?
That was almost the catchphrase of the Vegas trip.
Oh, mate.
When we were over for it was Tim Tszyu and who's Nikita fighting and Liam Wilson fight week. But have you heard about Billy Polkinghorne? A lot of people who know a lot more about the sport than I do have big raps on Billy.
A lot of pressure on Polkinghorne. Now, Liam Wilson, Yusuf Dib. It's probably one of the best domestic fights I've seen in a while.
It's a cracker. It's a great fight, and it could lead to more great fights. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Either one of them win. There's perfect, domestic lightweight fights. But how do you think it goes? I'm interested to see Liam Wilson at the weight.
I am too, because although putting on weight will allow you a better punch resistance, it also, the punches coming at you are stronger as well. So I'm interested to see Yusuf. I mean, Yusuf had that loss against Barlow last year as well. I mean, his form's been a bit... And Zalewski almost got him out of there as well. I don't know. You think Liam Wilson would get it done, but, Yusuf isn't a slouch, and Billy seems pretty confident, so...
Yeah, no, it's a genuinely interesting matchup, and because I'm sure you've seen it as well. Liam cutting to super featherweight. At times over the last couple of years, it's been, you try and interview him on weigh-in day, and it's like, man, a lot of people struggle in their weight cut and whatever, but a couple of times it's been like, far out, this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite happy to see Liam go up to lightweight.
But he, I don't know. It's just one of those ones. He gets the win, and then George Kambosos. I think I reckon he's got one last sort of fight.
Well, so we were talking about this earlier, right? What was the fight you want to see George in with?
I reckon George Kambosos has a fight against Shakur Stevenson. I reckon that fight is still there. Shakur, I don't think Shakur is a brilliant fighter, but I think he needs to go in there against someone like George as a test for when he goes up against the Lomachenkos, the whoever it is, Isaac Cruz, whoever. Gervonta Davis, and George Kambosos is a perfect litmus test for that. Whether George can beat Shakur is a different question, but I reckon George has still got one more big international fight left.
You reckon that could be it?
And then he might fight Liam Wilson, but yeah.
I think, and I don't think even Liam thinks that George will be next if he wins this fight. I think, he needs probably another one or two.
Yeah.
I think that's just realistic. But you talk about Kambosos, Shakur Stevenson. I mean, Shakur, he won that fight yesterday. Didn't set the world on fire.
Yeah.
Not a great look when, fans in your hometown that doesn't get a lot of boxing,
Nah.
let's be honest, walk out before the end.
Yeah.
So George will bring the fight to him. George will be aggressive. It'll be an exciting fight, I think, if they fought.
That's what I mean. It's one last chance for George, but I do want to see George Kambosos Liam Wilson, because could you imagine in Sydney? I just don't know, where would you have it?
In Sydney or Brisbane.
But where in Sydney?
Where in Sydney?
Because I think it's too big for the ICC or the Horden, but probably
Kudos?
too small for Kudos.
Could you have it?
What do you rope off Kudos and have 10,000?
Yeah, rope off maybe
Yeah.
the top section.
We didn't get 10,000.
Have you ever been to the Ken Rosewall Arena where they have like tennis and netball?
Yes. They
That's
were going to have
that's a
Sonny
good
Bill
arena.
Mark Hunt there. And then they changed it last minute.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good. I don't know whether that's ever had fights there or what. But
That's a good
that'd be a
one.
good venue. There's no
think of
bad
that.
seat.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good pay-per-view as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like that is as big a domestic fight as you can put together. Like that was. I was talking to George Rose today. He said that's Horn Zoo, same level.
What George say? Is he keen? Would it be able to happen? I mean,
Yeah, he said there's no reason they can't make it happen
yeah.
down the line. Not next, probably not this year, but
Yeah.
no reason. They would be certainly interested in making it happen. And yeah, they put on Zoo Horn. A lot of people said that
bro.
was a tough one to make too.
That tape brings back memories.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, Liam Paro,
yeah.
what a win!
Huge,
Unreal.
amazing. Like the way the refereeing went. I was sitting there going, when we were waiting for the cards to be read out, like there's absolutely no way they're going to give it to him.
Yeah.
With the way this fight's gone, with the way the whole week goes when you're in someone else's backyard, it's in Puerto Rico. That win for Liam Paro is right up there on par with, for me, for what George Kambosos did and what Jeff Horn did against Teo and against Manny Pacquiao. It's
got to be. I let it up there with George Kambosos. The only thing George probably has over it is the fact it was for unified, undisputed, however you want to read it. But to go to Puerto Rico and do that's unreal.
Yeah. And I think I wrote in the aftermath that it didn't have all the belts like Kambosos had, and it didn't have the name like Pacquiao and Horn. It's still like Subriel Matias was the boogeyman at 140. And mate, the fight happens and there's so many people saying, oh, Matias, he wasn't that good or he's not that technical, but mate, I hate this. He's a superstar. He's a killer. He's one of the best.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Liam Paro had the perfect game plan, executed it well, so disciplined. Don't take anything away from Paro by saying that Matias isn't that good. Like, we can't rewrite the books here.
What does Liam Paro do next? I actually have an idea.
All right.
George Kambosos go to 140, fight Liam Paro in a massive domestic fight. If George wins, he gets a Teofimo rematch for unified at 140.
Yep.
If Liam wins, he gets a Teofimo rematch for unified at 140.
I like it.
Could it happen?
So what are we talking about? 140. George comes up to 140.
To 140. Because
He would need a fight,
Teofimo
wouldn't he?
rematch, doesn't he? Or
Yeah,
Teofimo
but
wants
he would
to-
need a fight at 140 before he
Yeah.
takes on Liam for a world title.
Yeah.
Surely.
I don't know. I mean, it's a massive domestic fight. Because does Liam come back here and fight a pro-grey or a if he beats Catterall?
Who's Progress fighting Catterall?
Progress fighting Catterall. Does he fight the winner of that in Brisbane, or does he? You know, you could make a mega fight George Kambosos.
Para's got a mandatory, right?
Hitchens.
Davison Hitchens. Richardson Hitchens.
But he gets a voluntary first, doesn't he?
Does he? Are we sure about that? I know some guys do, but the IBF also pretty quick to enforce their mandatories. You see that at heavyweight.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Liam, if he can do a voluntary defence, Brisbane, Townsville, anything like that later this year. I spoke to him.
Who against though?
I don't know. I don't know. I spoke to him. Would have been maybe a week after the fight.
Yeah.
As I hope, he went and celebrated. I saw, if you're following on social media, he was having a good time in Miami, as you would expect. So the first time I spoke to him after the fight was about 10 days later. And he said, world title defences or unifications in Australia.
Yeah.
Brisbane, Mackay, Townsville, Cairns.
It's the dream. I mean, the problem is someone like Jai Pataya, incredible fighter. He's fighting overseas, I imagine, because the pay's better and whatnot. Does Liam do the same? Does Liam look to as massive, or can he get those paydays back here? It's a tough one.
He could have a really big fight in Saudi or something against one of those guys, right?
That's what I mean.
No, he could, yeah. But I don't know. Is he big enough to put on like a world title fight at a stadium or something in Australia?
I don't know. You could get Haney down here. How's it looking, Tim? Good? You could get like a Haney or someone down here, or
See, I don't reckon Devin Haney's coming back to Australia twice.
Well, yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic, I guess, and ecosystem.
It is. I don't know. Maybe ring Angelo DiCarlo or Alfie.
Well, hopefully there's some movement on it soon.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while. We haven't.
What's it been
what
like?
was the last time we?
We haven't been on the circuit, the boxing circuit,
Kambosos?
for Kambosos, Lomachenko,
it's been 2 months.
2 months.
2 months. But there are fights coming up, obviously this week, and then there's Sky Nicholson's in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Nikita, and not too far off. Tim and not too much further after
Let's
that.
talk about Tim Tszyu.
Right. So, he's in Thailand. And you know when Tim Tszyu shows up in Thailand, that means that's pre-camp, that's conditioning. So you know he's getting ready. We're close to getting something locked in.
What would you like
You spoke to George Rose today. What did he tell you?
He said that something was brewing, I guess would be the word. But I don't know. It's an interesting one what Tim Tszyu does.
I think we both know sort of what is likely to happen. But
what is? I personally would like to see him go the IBF route and chase that belt. Yeah,
versus
Ali.
live on the Gold Coast. I would love that. I don't know whether that happens, but that's a good fight.
That's what I'd love to see. But it looks like a September date for Tim, perhaps. Glenn was saying today. I don't know. It's got to be a big name, surely.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I suppose it's just making it make sense. The money and or there's a title or what it means going forward. But I think it'll be in Australia.
You reckon?
Yeah. I know that there was, it was Australia, and then there was a brief, maybe like a week or so, where it was possible that it was going to be in the US.
Yeah.
And I think we've swung back to leaning Australia. But we'll see. It's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, that US experience, going to Vegas and and fighting Fondora. It was unreal. I mean, that week we had over there, I mean, the
As if we-
stories on the circuit that particular week.
If we were
all
doing this
time.
that week,
We'll have to get...
that's one for we will have to go into that.
Yes, eventually.
There's a whole episode there.
It was one of the best nights of our lives.
Your life.
But no, and then it all sort of went awry in a way. But you know, I still think everyone believes and knows that Tim Zoo's the top dog at 154.
Yeah, and what he told me when was that? It was maybe a month ago. Interviewed him, and he said, and this is what I've always said since that night. It was almost like a perfect storm of just unfortunate or bad things, where he showed everyone how good he is, like everyone knew, and how tough he is, and how dangerous he is. But now he doesn't have a world title to show for it. Now he doesn't have that pulling power. So I said, what do you want from your comeback? Is it stay over in America? Do you want to come back home and headline where you're a superstar? Do you want money? Do you want names? And one of the first things he said was belt. I want the belt because the belt is power.
Yeah.
So IBF lends itself to that.
That's the
we'll see.
play. That's the play. Can we make it happen? You heard it here first.
You
Brendan
heard it,
Bradford.
well, you didn't hear it here first. You read it a month ago. If you're reading the stuff,
Oh, let's get stuck into the beers then, huh?
let's have it. Yeah, let's have a beer. We'll go get a feed and
What else
Come
got
back
planned?
in-
We've got the weigh-in tomorrow.
wait tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow.
Sam Goodman.
Who have you got coming up on YouTube? Who
Oh, mate. I don't know. What do we want? I mean, going deep on the George Rose interviews lately, but
Yeah.
we're also going to head to the UFC next month.
You're in Perth. You got the call up.
I'll be heading over there with Ash and the team. So
I
Well, that's good fun,
I spoke to Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis last week. Both
oh,
of
did
them
you? I wish I could speak to
in
them.
person. Good stuff. So we got that rolling out. But let's wrap this up. We'll go have a feed, a
Beauty.
couple of beers, and tune back in tomorrow.